Today on the Bar Business Podcast, we're going to have a little bit of a different conversation since this is our final episode of 2025. Hello and welcome to the Bar Business Podcast, where we help bar owners increase profits, attract loyal guests, and simplify operations so you can avoid burnout and finally enjoy your life outside of your bar. I'm your host, Chris Schneider, the Bar Business Coach. Welcome to this episode of the Bar Business Podcast. This will be our last episode for 2025, and I wanted to do something a little bit different today. We're not going to do a deep tactical dive. We're not going to talk P&Ls. We're not going to talk numbers. What we are going to talk about is gratitude and reflections and why being a bar owner actually matters. Because I think for a lot of us, this can be a very thankless industry to be in a lot of the time. It's brutal. It's tough. The margins are small. It's not easy to survive. But I really hope that listening to this podcast, and if you're a member in Bar Business Nation, if not, you should go over to Facebook, join Bar Business Nation, has helped you to make more money in the past year, to improve your business in the past year. And I am so grateful to all of you for listening every Monday and Wednesday as we drop these. When I look back at 2025, I am super grateful for the fact that we have had the listener growth that we've had, that you guys have provided feedback. And some of you that listen have been on the show and been great interviews and helped share your story with other people that are going through the same struggles you are. Over the course of 2025, we did some fantastic interviews. We had some great insights. And this community is hopefully proving that bar ownership doesn't require burnout, that you can own a bar and really be in a good spot. Now, when I think back on what I've learned in 2025, there are a few things that I would point out. The first one being, personally, I've really seen how small changes can create massive profit impacts. That a willingness to change matters more than experience. And that oftentimes what we need to do is, rather than run away from our data, we need to run towards our data and to really look at the KPIs, the numbers, and use that to guide our growth because, again, small changes create massive impacts. When we look at industry trends over the last year, I think about menu simplification, technology consolidation, data-driven decision-making, and a widening gap between strategic and reactive operators. And if you've listened to the podcast over the course of this year, you've heard me talk about all those things. Now, whether or not these are all good for the industry, we will see. I think data-driven decision-making, fantastic. I think menu simplification, fantastic. Technology consolidation, important, right? We don't want to spend more money than we have to on any of these things. What worries me, though, is that we're seeing this gap widening between strategic and reactive operators. And we've talked about this sometimes in terms of generational ownership, that we still have old school, if you will, owners hanging on and as new school owners come in. But also, I think we need to point out that as this business has not been easy since COVID, we're seeing a big difference in the results people are getting out of their bars. And that gap is really about mindset. And so personal growth has to be involved here. We have to balance tactical wins with strategic frameworks. We have to learn what you need versus what you think you need. And that's a big thing here, right? And that's something that I've even been challenging all of my own assumptions this year and trying to figure out what is actually driving this industry forward. What do we actually need to know? Now, again, I want to say I have the utmost respect for all of you that are out there owning bars. It is a demanding job. You have people management, you have regulatory compliance, you have thin margins, you have brutal hours. But also remember that regardless of how well you did in the last year, you all are creating an impact far beyond profit. You're a community gathering place. You're creating jobs and careers in your local economy. You're supporting your local economy. You're giving people wonderful experiences and creating memories that they will cherish forever. So even if your profit, as we're looking towards the end of the year here, isn't where you thought it would be, Think about all the wonderful impacts you made on the people around you. Continue to have the courage to improve, whether that's raising prices, firing underperformers, delegating, or investing when cash is tight. Understand that you have to get better. And that goes back to what I was just talking about with this split that seems to be happening in our industry, where you have some really big winners and some people that are barely getting by. It's that courage to improve, the willingness to change, that tends to be what separates those people. But no, regardless of any of that, the fact that you survived 2025, the economic challenges, the staffing crises we've seen, the supply chain issues, and that you're continuing to move forward means that you have what it takes to cut it in this industry. Maybe you can do some refinement. Maybe there's some places where you need some help, but you're doing it. You're being successful and you're trying to grow. And that's what's going to make you a fantastic operator in 2026. Now, when it comes to the podcast and we look ahead to 2026, we're going to continue to focus on strategic planning, operational systems, financial optimization, marketing, loyalty systems, scaling, and sustainability. Those are the places where I think, honestly, in our industry, we need the most help. When we think about bars, we don't tend to be planners. We don't tend to like systems. We don't really care about finances a lot of times when I talk to owners. But those are where we need to focus to survive in this air of anxiety that seems to be surrounding us nowadays. Now, we're going to continue to have great interviews on the podcast with industry leaders, multi-unit operators, technology providers, hospitality, financial professionals, consultants, coaches, you name it. We'll continue to have those folks on because, as always, I want to make sure that you have a better perspective than just what comes out of my mouth. And we're going to look to push Bar Business Nation more to increase some community involvement, maybe even do some live Q&A sessions, get in some deep case studies, and really focus in on how to be successful in 2026. So that's what's coming up next year. But right now, what I really wanted to say is we're right between Christmas and New Year's. You have a little tiny lull here. Enjoy it. I know for a lot of folks, it's gearing up for New Year's this week, and that's going to be big. It's only in a couple days. But once we get past New Year's, make sure you take some time as an owner to rest, recharge, and kind of get past this holiday craziness so that you can really get your business set up well for 2026. Stay connected with each other. Stay connected through Bar Business Nation. Stay connected with me. And share your wins. Share your challenges. Bring your commitment to learn and build and grow something better than what your bar is today. January 5th will be our first episode of the new year. So make sure you listen to that. Like I said, we're going to have some great stuff coming up. But again, I just want to thank you for being a loyal listener. I want to thank you for the trust you put in me and this podcast. And thank you for the hard work you guys are all doing to create excellent experiences, build great bars, and become a focal point of your community where you can help people grow and develop and build memories that will last a lifetime. That about wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed today's insights, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review. If you are ready to take your bar to the next level, schedule a strategy session with me by clicking the link in the show notes below. Until next time, have a great day, and we will talk again later.